Hello and welcome to another Thursday night grind. It must be May 28th and this is episode 22 of the Thursday night grind. I was scrolling through the playlist and it's turning into something. It's great. Like, it's a really cool resource. So if you don't know that that's out there, every Thursday night I go onto YouTube and I sharpen something that's on the bench at the American Edge. Tonight is no exception. It's a pretty standard Henckels Chef Knife. Before I get into that, I wanted to talk about some fundamentals of sharpening. And I came up with this as a way to do it, a brick of wood. And what I've done is put some lines on here. And I'm hoping that that can help us understand a few things. So like, this is like a knife, right? Like it's just blown up way big, because if you look at a knife this way, like you can't see it, right? So what I did is I went to the wood shop and I cut a 20 degree, I set my table saw at 20 degrees and ran this piece of wood through twice. And there's a few really cool things that immediately jump out at us when we do something like this. One is to understand that when we're talking about an 18 or 21 degree bevel on a standard flat grind blade, we're really talking about the half angle, because it's the section here, right? So the full angle here is going to be twice what it is. So if we did a standard German knife at 21 degrees, the actual cutting angle is going to be 42, right? So I'm not sure that that's always clear. It wasn't to me when I was just beginning. And another thing that we really need to understand when we're sharpening is that the edge is when one face of the steel meets the other face of the steel. And you do that by cutting a bevel on either, in this case, on either side. It doesn't always have to be on either side. And where it meets is the edge. And what I feel like people don't understand, and like when you can't see it, it's hard to understand. But the edge is the most fragile piece of the knife, right? It's the place where all of the work is being done, and it is the thinnest, most fragile place on the blade, which is why knife care is so important. The other thing to understand with this, I mean, there's a whole bunch, right? Like, I will not go on forever, but I am considering building a course on the fundamentals of sharpening, in which case I feel like this could be a good aid. So if you feel like this is a nice way to demonstrate some of these things, I welcome you to let me know in the comments. And the other thing, as we're talking about how delicate the edge is, as you go thinner and thinner, right? Like you go 15 or a 13 degree half angle, now like there's just that much less material to support where the cutting is being done. Conversely, if you make this wider, 25, 27 degrees, it becomes much more blunt and you get a more durable edge. So like what I love about knives and sharpening is it is never perfect. There is no perfect. Okay, and here's another real cool thing that I think we can demonstrate with this. This is a piece of pine. I feel like maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm more like, I understand wood better than I understand metal. And I think that you will too. Like if I were to say, now pretend this is a piece of oak or hickory or ash or something like a harder wood. And then like we take this piece of pine and the same thing that I made out of a piece of oak and we tap it, wrap it against the counter. Like which one is going to show more wear and break faster? And I think we'll all agree that it's the pine, because it's a softer wood. That applies to steel as well. But I feel like a lot of people cannot relate to steel. I know I still don't. Like you could, and it's just like not stuff I'm that familiar with, right? Like whether it's S30V or 154 CPM or D2, like I don't know. Like I'm trying to get better at that, but I know oak and I know pine, and I know there's a difference there. Then that I feel like maybe like making that analogy, because what I think a lot of people also don't understand is that the value of this blade is in what can't be seen. It's the composition of the steel. And that's why you could buy, I mean, even this is a Henckels. Like I didn't even plan this, but what a perfect way to show, like this knife is made in Germany, which is where this one, did I get that right? Yeah, this one's made in Germany. Henckels also makes knives in Spain, and they also make knives in China. And the knife with a Henckels, thing on it that you buy that says China in it is not the same knife that you buy when it says Germany on it, right? Like there's a difference there, and I feel like that's not well understood. All right, so I'm going to table this for the moment. There is more that could go into using this as an aid to understanding the fundamentals of sharpening. I welcome your feedback. Does that help? Does that make sense? Is this a good aid? Let me know. Okay. With that, this is gonna be a quick sharpening of this 8-inch Henckels Chef Knife. There's one other thing I want to show you, and let's go right over to the 1x30 because I feel like this is maybe valuable, and maybe like I just want to I want to give a welcome to John. He is the well, except for today, and right up until recently, he was our newest member at the Guild of Professional Sharpeners. He's got his company, his business going, and he's going to rapidly expedite the rate that he gets his business generating legit revenue. So I'm excited to be working with him, and thank you, John. And one thing that he provided to the Guild just the other day, which was great, was learning to train the eye to angles on the 1x30. And what he did is he folded paper. So he had like paper, it was, a 90-degree corner on a piece of paper, folded it once, there's 45 degrees, folded it again, there's 22.5 degrees, cut that triangle out, held it up to the 1x30, and then used that to train his eye on where 22.5 degrees is. And then understanding that bringing the spine into the belt a little bit is going to make that a slightly shallower angle if you're shooting for 18 or something less. And what I wanted to share with this is that if you are sharpening like this and you bring the spine in a little bit more, meaning on the 1x30 you're cutting a slightly shallower angle, call it 15 just for the sake of argument. What's going to happen here is this angle will be a little bit shallower. So then when you get your stone on the Edge Pro, your stone is going to be at 21 degrees, and so it'll actually be a little bit like this. And what's really great about that is now on the first pass, you're going to be building up a burr on the edge on both sides. Conversely, if you went too steep on the 1x30 and then you came over to the Edge Pro, your stone would effectively be doing this, and you're going to have to hog off all of that material before you start building a burr and you're cutting at the edge again. So if you go a little, it's better to air shallow on the 1x30 than steep. And then the worst case, and there are a few exceptions, but like just generalize this with me. And then so let's say like you are a little shallow on the 1x30, you go here, like if you really are concerned about just having one bevel, you're just cutting material back until you get to the top of the bevel. Or don't even worry about it. And then the worst case scenario is you have what's called a compound bevel where, it's going to be slightly like this. So you have, I've heard it called a micro bevel. I think my opinion is that it's not exactly a micro bevel, but I would call it a compound bevel, where the cutting angle is going to be slightly steeper than the rest of the rest of the bevel, getting back to the thickness of the material. Okay, I hope that made sense. And yeah, like there's a lot more to go into there, but I feel like that could be a good aid. Let me know what you think. And I'm actually going to soak a few stones right here, right now. But I'm going to cut this. Oh, and then the other thing, like, yeah, since we're doing this, like this is not sharp, right? I mean, look how blunt that is. But that's not uncommon, right? Like that's what happens when knives wear. That fragile part of the edge, it kind of curls over. And if you have a hone in your kitchen, what you're doing is either cutting off little bits that curl over, or just realigning them. But eventually you're going to cut them off and you're going to have a rounded over. The steel matters when we're talking about this. Like harder steels, like with a Rockwell hardness of 62, 63, they're going to have a tendency to chip rather than fold over. But still, so what we're now I forgot why I went there, but it's still valuable to understand what the dulling is there. So now when I remember, right? So now what I need to do is cut this bevel back a little bit to get the edge. And this blunt part, a lot of times when you're looking at a knife, if you train your eye for it too. Right now, I pick them out immediately, but there's just the bright spots, right? Like those, you got to get rid of those bright spots. And I was thinking about monkeying around with here, but I'm not. Just trust me. Let's look at your knives closely. Look for the bright spots. Run it through the 1x30. Sharpen it. Look for bright spots again. Like, okay, you'll train your eye in no time. So anyway, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. And we're going to just take, this one is not in terrible shape. I mean, it's effectively rolled over just like that piece of wood. So it is going to need some work, but not much. That's why I love the 1x30. And you might see that I'm going to do this knife at 21 degrees on the Edge Pro, so I'm going to go a little shallower than 21 on the belt. Okay. Here comes the noise. Because I am going a bit shallower, I'm using a really tiny bevel at that angle, so it's taking a few passes. I have a relatively worn 120 belt on here, going real light. This belt's about ready to be swapped out. I got a couple more bright spots, that's what I'm looking for. But I pretty much putting the burr up. Good to go. Whoa, look at that. All right. Let us come over to the Edge Pro. I gotta do this light and set my angle here. I'm gonna give you a better shot there. Sorry about that. So you kind of set the tip over here and then bring this up so that the blade on this side is over the edge of the table. And since I've done that now, I can go right to my 220 stone, and I'm confident that it is going to immediately be cutting at the edge of the knife and putting a burr on the other side. And I'll be able to see it as soon as I do my couple strokes. Yeah, that's it. Maybe could have done a little bit more at the tip, but looks like it'll be all right. Now, what I think I've mentioned this before too, but what I like to do, come over to this side, like do the other side, do this side. Tip's a little better on this side than the other one, but still, wipe it down, check for a burr. Burr, burr, burr. Burr is the word. Come back to this side, because you never know, like if you put, like when you came off the 1x30, if you had the burr over on the, you know, where it was. So you just really want to make sure that you're actually cutting to the edge of the knife with the stone. Like I've said before, like if you're not cutting to the edge, you're not sharpening the knife. And I have a burr the whole way down from the very heel to the very tip, right? So I'm good. I'm good. And in this, I've evolved a little bit now. I'm kind of like in the 220, 600, 1100 evolution of stones. Cut that burr off. Oh, you know what I've noticed a lot lately? It sticks, right? It's sticking right here. So what I do is I have my little water bottle handy. Just squirt a little water on here. Get a little water. That's way better. It sticks just enough to throw you off. All right, a couple passes here. This is the 1100 diamond matrix stone. Oh, right. So now, like, the analogy here applies on that brick of wood too, right? Like, it's just, if you're familiar with sanding wood, which I think we all are, I don't know, that's a generalization, right? But to me, like, sanding wood is a more familiar thing than you know, using stones on metal. But it's just like moving your way up in sandpaper on a piece of wood. That's all we're doing here. And then you get a nicer finish, you get a cleaner edge, and then it's ultimately going to be a stronger edge. More durable, more sharp. Okay, that knife is done. All right, I got a few more to do tonight, but that is it for the Thursday night grind. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hopefully you derive some value from this. There's more coming all the time. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you are interested in learning to sharpen and or turning that skill into a source of revenue, then you should check out guildofsharpeners.org. It's live and it's sweet. It's awesome. I think it's going to be the best resource ever for learning sharpening and getting a business off the ground. Bold statement, I know, but it's amazing. It's cool. Like, we live in the future. So check that out. And thanks so much. Like, subscribe. Catch you guys next time. Have a great week.